Hello, everyone. Today we've comfortably achieved the word goal. We're getting back into it. We had the one bad day, and then I didn't say out, but the day after, we only got 3 words above the goal. But this today we did it comfortably. It didn't take a ridiculous amount of time. Yeah, we just got it done. It's a lot of chatting. We're getting the group together still. We haven't quite set up for the heist yet. Haven't quite decided what's going to be heisted or what form the heist will take. But we want a heist. We want to close this literature out with a good heist. I mean, it won't be the end, but it will be the end for Neo. Probably. Yeah. I mean, you've got to have a heist. Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think after Nano, I might try and do a thing where we go back through everything and we kind of work out what needs to happen, what bits we keep, what bits maybe we don't need as much. Just generally try and build more of an outline for how the story might continue, or how it might be changed to have progressed up to this point. Anyway, it's time for words. Hope you're ready for some fucking words. Sorry about that. I don't know why I saw that. I don't think you're packed at all, Rob informed him, but he wasn't listening. The rambling loon continued around the front of the van, clambering up into the passenger seat, slamming the door behind him. They'd left the engine running, and Rob felt a mounting pressure on him to make another bad decision quickly. He felt the weight of destiny on him, an eternity of wrong and bad choices spanning out in front of him. He got in the back of the van. There were no seats in there, and no seatbelts. He wasn't entirely sure it was correct or safe to transport people in such a vehicle, but then why would it be? The other girl from the centre was already there, bracing herself in one of the back corners with both arms. Alright, Rob greeted. He'd forgotten her name. She nodded faintly. Rob hadn't really been expecting any response at all, so this was a pleasant surprise. Rob sat across from her in the other corner. There was a loose toolbox in the back of the van, and several scattered pieces that had either fallen out of it or were too big to include in the first place. Anything that wasn't sharp was heavy, and none of it was secured in any way to stop it buffeting the occupants of the vehicle. Maybe if he was going to join this group, Rob's common sense would fill a void in its composition. Alright, introductions, Zack announced from the front. There was a window through to the compartment that was supposed to contain all the vehicle's occupants. At one time, the intervening space would have contained some kind of glass. It had been rendered up and planned by some hasty DIY work. From a brief appraisal of the work, it appeared to have been done by Zack. This is a good description of a thing. Just instead of a thing looks bad, it looks like Zack did this. I think we've been introduced, Rob told him. His first impression had been mixed. I need to know what you're about, my guy, Zack persisted. What's your background? Experience? Rob was not feeling it. Should I forward you a CV? Yes, sarcastically. Zack, can we go soon? April chimed in. Rob looked up and saw Zack was kneeling backwards on his seat to peer down at him around the side of the headrest. I tried to write this sentence a lot of times. I couldn't work out how to. I still don't think it's perfect. I still think it's a little confusing what he's doing. Is it? Tell me in the comments if this sentence is confusing. If you watch this video and you watch up to this point, you have to tell me in the comments. This isn't a thing to. We're not building engagement here. We're doing serious work. This is serious literature. Does this sentence make sense? I've tried to rewrite it so many times that it doesn't to me anymore. It's just he's on the seat backwards, right? Because he's kneeling in the seat, and he's just like looming over the side of the headrest. It's fine. You can do that, and I don't know. Yeah, we can head out, Zack responded, confused as to the problem. Can you sit down like a person then? April stared dead ahead, gripping the steering wheel tightly. This conversation, for these two, was inside the bounds of normal. Zack maneuvered himself back around and into proper sitting position. Happy? She glanced over, sighed, and looked back. Seatbelt, please. As Zack put on his seatbelt, Rob wondered if the man was some kind of alien only pretending to be a human. The van started up. reversing backwards off the pavement and onto the road. Rob realized immediately why the woman across from him was positioned so defensively in the corner when he was thrown over on the first turn and then the toolbox landed on his foot. As they hummed along the road, it became apparent that Zach was to persist in his line of inquiry. So you were like a low-level dude back at the tower. What was that about? I needed money to live, Rob answered quickly, though he'd found the question peculiar. What did you do back there? April asked backwards. A pang of fear ran through Rob for a moment. He was worried they were going to tag team him again. He gave them the absolute truth of it. Tried to use a phone that didn't work to bother strangers into buying something that was probably a scam? April laughed. You ever worked retail, Rob? He hadn't. No, I've been a plasterer, and then I've worked in a call center. My job wasn't much fun either, April clarified. I was plastering. This is just some dumb small talk that I could easily remove. I I want to get across that, like, I don't know. This is too long. We could cut some of this. We could cut a lot of this. It was bad. I worked for my dad's company coming out of high school, but they had to drop me. He'd never been a very good plasterer. This does also stealthily imply that he has no higher education. He's just you know, working straight out of high school. I think this is why I decided this was important, but to be honest, none of this is important. April worked retail. That's what she started out doing in the first one. She's actually going to start out. I'm going to rewrite the first one at some point, like after we finish this. She went crazy and ran away from home to live in the woods, and that's how it's going to start. I think is with April coming home to run out to run away into the forest and try and live in the woods, and then we're going to be with Piper and other characters who did not survive the events of previous, trying to work out what's happening. We won't be April won't be a POV past the very first scene until a bit later. I'm thinking. I don't know. I think a lot of strange things when I'm thinking about. I keep thinking I'm just gonna start the first one again, and I'm like, Nano's still going, and we're in the middle of a novel. Should we not start writing a different novel until we finish the one we're currently doing? Yeah. He wasn't a good plasterer. He'd never been a very good plasterer. The small talk was beginning to drive Zach slowly more insane. Sam. I don't know why. Okay, so it was gonna be slowly insane, and then I was like, we'll just throw more in there because it's Zach. But now it doesn't work. So one of these words needs to go. Probably not the last one. We'll do that later because it will reduce our word count. So what skills do you think you picked up during that time? He threw him before anyone could stop him. Skills that might be relevant to what we're doing now. Rob, thrown, took a moment to gather his many problems with that statement into a workable order. I don't know what you're doing right now. But I don't know what you're doing now. Zach was forced to rephrase his question. What about all that boring stuff do you think helped you survive the tower? Rob, having some experience with job interviews, was forced to try and make a parallel between plastering and fighting jaguars while armed only with office supplies. He eventually had to concede he couldn't think of a single thing. I don't know, Zach. Maybe we all just got lucky. He decked a jaguar with a PC box once. April came to Rob's defense, finishing scathingly. I think you missed that part because she'd run away. For the first time since Rob had met him, Zach was rendered speechless. What about you, Zach? Rob broke the silence, still struggling for balance while being jostled around in the back of the van. He couldn't help but wonder what series of events had to happen in the world to produce a Zachary Morgan. Zach remained quiet, answering cautiously. Rob realized he should have expected the man to be less than forthcoming with details. Ah, you're really putting me on the spot there, man. We were talking about you here. April was concentrating on the road, but absently she added, I'm throwing my full support behind Rob's question. Whose side are you on? Zach laughed, though he was beginning to feel the pressure of being attacked on two fronts. Rob's side, she responded instantly. That's literally what I just said. Rob continued to wait for a reply from the crazy man. Eventually he began to mumble. So for the longest time I worked security? Rob laughed out loud at the obvious lie. You was a bouncer? The man was wafer thin. a mild breeze would blow him over, and he'd run at the first sign of conflict regardless. No, Zack seemed offended by the question. There's more than one type of security work, you know. He calmed down as he hit the roadblock of actually attempting to impart information again, and dropped back into a comfortable mumble. Bunch of places were getting broken into, and they hired me to work out how it kept happening. Rob didn't get it. His brain took some of the words and morphed them into a form that made more sense to him. You were a robber. It would explain his problem with cops. April laughed. You're making some actionable accusations there, guy, Zack shot back angrily. You gonna take it to court? Rob laughed. You'd hate it. They have cops there. Zack refused to say another word, and the conversation petered out. The silence began to bother Rob. So where are we going? He asked April. She answered automatically. We're picking up the caravan, and we're headed. Have we mentioned the caravan? We're picking up the caravan, and we're heading into the country a little way. Got a spot picked out to spend the night, unless something's horribly wrong. After a moment's consideration, she added, You and Piper can wait for us there, but me and Zack have to head out again. We'll be back before morning if all goes well. What are you up to? Rob continued to probe. April laughed. We're gonna rob a place. I specifically want to mention Zack's backstory. I kind of. He's just generally the most suspicious possible person, so I like that kind of. His answer there was basically, like, I have a lot of skills that you might think only apply to breaking into places, but there's actually a very good reason why I'd have all these skills, and I will explain it poorly and then change the subject as fast as possible. I like Zack. Zack's good. I think Zack is gonna have at some point been involved with the RAM. That's we went over them last time if you're not sure. But yeah, he's got connections who know about the things that are happening. I don't know how Zachary Morgan got to where he is today. Don't know what happened there. We'll have to think about that. Undoubtedly, a very strange set of situations. I'm thinking I don't know. He's probably working for one of the European organizations, not RAM. Because I don't know, someone sent the wrong guy over when they realized Colwell were gonna go off. Maybe, or maybe he's like tracking stuff on his own, and he decided Colwell was. He definitely goes into Coldwell knowing that something's happening. He's disguised as a magician, which means he gets to. I've got my hair stuck in the microphone again. He gets to wear a lot of big sparkly clothes and make a big scene, which is basically his favorite thing. But he does go south very quickly, and he's obviously not prepared for it. Anyway, Zack's not gonna be one of the main ones in the other one either. He shows up like halfway, maybe. We'll see. We haven't written it, and we have no plans to yet. We're writing a different novel right now. It would help to get a better idea of what supposedly happened during the Caldwell incident. Anyway, rather than use a long-term parking place for the caravan when abandoning it for a week. Oh, just wanted to say as well. So April was originally a character that I made for a text adventure game. So she's not above robbing a thing. April, she's not a kleptomaniac. I did consider it, but she will just take something without asking if she thinks she can use it or she needs it more than someone else does. April's not above this. This is the boss, you know. I think I've tried to get across. I think I've done a pretty good job that April can like be fairly normal and just have a normal conversation, but she's kind of on the Zack side of things too. I think all ideas of her ever being just like an everyman character have to go out the window. When I said that, I was kind of thinking, yeah, but she's She's a point and click adventure game. Not point and click, a text adventure game character. She'll just steal a thing. That's just a thing she'll do. Is that normal? Sorry, we're going again now. Rather than use a long-term packing place for the caravan when abandoning it for a week, as that undoubtedly would leave some kind of paper trail, Zack had dropped off the prophesized caravan with some guy on the outskirts of town, with very little explanation. Upon arriving to reclaim the vehicle, Zack immediately began acting suspiciously. He appeared to be attempting to attach the tow without being spotted. The guy had been waiting for him, though, and the two had entered into a bizarre yet heated argument. Rob, April, and Piper decided to wait in the van. So, Rob tried to drown out the yelling in the background. Retail? He was addressing April. Before I ended up here, I used to sell keyrings and shot glasses for a living, April explained. Seems like a long time ago, but it was probably just a few weeks. Things got weird fast. And how exactly did that prepare you for whatever it is you do now? Rob asked. He'd been meaning to attempt a Zach accent, but as soon as he wasn't listening to the guy speak, the tone seemed strange and unplaceable. Hopefully April would get it. She laughed, possibly out of pay. I had way more of a transitory period than you did, to be fair. He didn't know what that meant, but assumed it tied in with the fearless leader, who was currently losing an argument with an old man outside. Inevitably, the Zach question resurfaced. How'd you end up with Zach? Zach ended up with us. She motioned back at Piper, who waved nervously. No idea what he was doing beforehand, but he wasn't security. Rob had been under the assumption that Zach was in charge. What do you think his deal is? Well, that's a big question, Rob, was her only answer. He realised instantly that he would get no more, and didn't press the issue. Does all this relate back to that thing you were talking about? He tried to think what she'd said before. Resort you worked at. Caldwell. It all does, April told him shortly, a tone now distinctly more hostile. He gave her a moment to add more, but she refused. He was intensely curious, but didn't want to upset her. You're going to have to tell me about that someday, he offered gently. As soon as I work out what happened myself, I will. She cheered up a little as the pressure dissipated, but it was a touchy subject. She still couldn't believe he'd heard nothing of it, however. You should really watch the news more, Rob. Nah, it's never good news. April realised she didn't really know what the news might have said about it either. Probably not the truth, but they had to offer some explanation for why the resort no longer existed. You can't have people booking their holidays to a big hole in the ground. The other woman who occupied the space continued to sit rigidly in the corner looking nervous. So, you two started the thing, Rob offered, trying to allow her into the conversation. Slightly disappointingly, it was again April who responded. It started itself. We were just around when it happened. Thought struck Rob. Was it anything like what happened to me? Yeah, it probably was. We all made a bit more sense now. A little bit more sense now. Oh. The second round of small talk is fine. I don't mind this. Just the first one goes nowhere, adds nothing. Barely relevant to anything that's happening. All it does is annoy Zach, but we could have Zach get annoyed much faster. Yeah. So that's the thing. That's where we're at. I love my character still. We need more Piper. I never worked out what Piper's deal was in back in the day. And then when I tried to I really tried to focus in on what Piper's deal was at the start of this. But she wasn't in it for like the first 35,000 words. And now whenever she's in a scene, I'm like, well, she wouldn't venture herself here. She wouldn't be that keen to talk to Rob. She's like, ah, we'll get her talking. I just, I don't know. She's friends with April. And Zach, he doesn't not like her, but he doesn't, she don't really talk to him. The two share very few words. He don't really know how to approach her, and if you don't approach her, she won't. She'll just let you not approach her. She won't volunteer herself. But Rob's very maybe we just need a Piper Rob scene, because Rob's very talkative, and he'd try and set up a conversation. Yeah, it's not. We're not gonna leave Rob behind when we go on the heist, though. Rob's coming on the heist, because I don't know. I imagined Zachary just trying to impart crime wisdom into him while he's out doing crimes. Just kind of showing off how much he knows about doing crimes. But he earned that. He learned all that through very reputable means. He wasn't doing crimes at the time. He was doing honest work that was crime adjacent. Maybe we should bring Piper too. I don't know. Piper's like got no useful skills for doing missions. That's why she wanted the tower. She'd not have contributed anything. I think Piper were gonna be like more when everything starts to collapse. We use Piper to kind of explore like how people are coping with it outside the main group. Because a thing with Piper was she were always going to end up in loads of really odd conversations with very normal people in very odd situations. Just to kind of, I don't know, just to get philosophical for a moment and think about how people might be reacting to stuff. Which is another. Okay, this is another reason why I keep thinking I should start the beginning of the other novel that we're not doing for Nano, but we will be doing at some point. Um, yeah, April's Zach isn't there yet, or if he is, no one's met him. He's not a POV character yet. Rob does not exist until the sequel, this one. And April runs away to live in the woods, so we've got Piper and another one of April's friends are going to be the only two POV characters at the start. I don't think Zach will ever be a POV character. He's barely using this. We don't want to. We don't want to use Zach as a POV character too often. We save that for special occasions. Anyway, this was quite a long one because I did a lot of thinking. Did a lot of thinking in this one. And I'm glad I got a lot of it recorded because I'm always worried that I'm going to forget the things that I'm thinking. The problem, one of my main problems I have with Nano is I finished Nano and it's December. I'm like, I'll wait till I'll have December off. We did like several months of writing in 1 month. We'll have a break, and then January's editing month. I think this is what a lot of people do. Like the editing or just finishing the thing begins in January. But by January, I've completely forgotten everything I was thinking about. This is why it was very important for me to do this. It's not even that I've like forgot everything I was thinking about, which I have done, but also in the intervening month, I've just like, I get seasonal depression and stuff. So I've been thinking the whole time like everything I've written was terrible. I've just wasted a month writing total shit. And I think having this and realizing that I was really enjoying writing, remembering that I was really enjoying it, I was really getting into it, and I was actually liking the stuff that I'd written quite a lot. I think that's gotta help. That's gotta be one of the missing pieces of the puzzle with putting this all together. There was something else I think I wanted to say, but I can't remember what it is. I keep thinking I'm gonna start writing notes for these videos. I like half remembered it a minute ago, and then it's gone in the time I spent on that tangent. It probably won't important. It's fine. If it comes back up, I'll write it down. But yeah, this is the end. Thank you for being here, if indeed you were here. Even if you weren't here, you know what? Just thanks for being you, theoretical person. Thanks for being you. You're doing a great job. Have a wonderful day.